Everything is a remembrance of who we used to be. Have we not noticed that as we come to heal ourselves and undo patterns and things that have kept us small, do you realize that we always come back to a childlike version of ourselves? And that is my thesis statement for what I will be sharing in today's video. And this idea too, that I'm going to intermingle with this, that every part of ourselves that we have learned that is not really us, our false beliefs and programmings, the parts of ourselves that we've taken on from our ancestors, the parts of society that have told us that we need to be a certain way in order to be accepted and loved and validated, they are now all coming to the surface in ways that we may not have expected them to, so that the relationships that were born out of inauthenticity are now being highlighted. Careers that were born out of inauthenticity, obligation, fear are being highlighted. Family relationships that were born out of keeping the peace, inauthenticity, obligation are being highlighted. So that we can finally see every part of our life where we have kept ourselves stuck, where we are still chained to a false identity, to an identity that was created out of reaction to the world around us, especially when we were younger. So let's just throw in another topic here, that when we realize that healing is just coming back to ourselves, who we used to be, that is where inner child work comes into play. Because the inner child is the version of ourselves that is stripped of everything that is false. The inner child is the part of ourselves that has innocence, that has true strength and knowledge and understanding of who we really are. And so when we can get behind and past all of the programming that we learned when we were teenagers and young adults and truly come back to ourselves, that is really when life begins. Because that's when we're no longer living our life for other people anymore. Then when we can get back to our true self, our inner child, that is when life becomes fun, because we have tapped into our inner creativity and we are tuned into our inner wisdom and the coding of what we're here to do. Because think about it, when we were kids, we all knew what our interests were. We all knew what we really wanted to focus on. We knew what lit us up. But then it was through learned experiences. It was through shrinking ourselves. It was through being told that we were good only if we did this and did that and went there, that then we lost our own compass, because our compass became pleasing other people. So that's why we all get to midlife when we go through that crisis, which we don't have to go through, but so many people do because they have lost that sense of self. So they get to midlife and they realize that everything they lived for was a lie and they don't know who they are anymore. But what's incredible is right now everything's collapsing. And I know that that doesn't feel incredible because it can be so stressful when the relationships in your life aren't working, when the friendships aren't working, when your family isn't working, when your career suddenly has no meaning for you, right? When you just can't seem to take it anymore, that things are just being shown to you that you can no longer ignore. What I'm saying is, this is a good thing, even though it feels terrible, because now you don't have to wait until midlife, or if you're past midlife, end of life. You don't have to wait until whatever age you are for that crash out to happen. Because now it's being shown to you where you have fed into false beliefs, where you have acted in ways that have been distorted to who you really are. So that if you've been feeling a sense of anxiety, a sense of depression, a sense of feeling lost, it just tells you that you have been walking down a path that has been different from the way that your soul sees the life that you're living. You have been walking down a path that is different from the purpose that you have came here to live. And so now if we can start to strip away and just identify every part of ourself that has been a lie, that has been based in inauthenticity, that has been based in pleasing other people, that has been based in needing validation, that has been based in the core wounds that tell us that we're not good enough, that we're not smart enough, funny enough, beautiful enough, that we have to achieve the validation and the feedback in order for us to feel good enough. When we strip that away, that is when we come back to the true self. So truly, 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 so many people are having a crash out right now. Everybody I know is going through something, myself included, where you're having the career suddenly at a standstill. You might be losing jobs, or you might come to a total crash and burn with the career trajectory that you were on, because it was not the right fit for you. Or you may find that relationships in your family life suddenly are no longer working, that you cannot keep the peace any longer by sacrificing your true self. That you may find that your romantic relationships are completely either ending if you've been in a relationship, or you're seeing things that you weren't ready to see before because you saw it, but you weren't willing to see the truth of your situation. Or that you may have friendships that are very similar to that, where you saw things but you weren't willing to truly acknowledge it, that you were sprinkling fairy dust on everything that you didn't want to truly acknowledge about somebody or about your role in that relationship, right? So that every part of that old life that is being released was a mirror to you in what you have been living as a false piece of you, in what you have been living out as those beliefs and expectations that were programmed from society, from your parents, from your ancestors, from your teachers and caregivers. That every part of your personality now that we're seeing has been programmed. That truly we are not living from our authentic expression if we are living from the place of always wanting to please others, of always want to get validation from others, of looking to outside circumstances to tell us who we are. So as that is being stripped away, it leaves a gap, though, for many people where they don't fully know how to step into that version of themselves yet. And so I'm here to say that that's perfectly okay if you're in that middle ground. But if you're in the crash out period as well, where everything is collapsing, let it. Allow it to happen. Let the old versions of you go, because God is showing you every part of your life where you are still shackled, every part of your life where you are still feeding into delusions and distortions, every part of your life where you have been playing small, every part of your life where you have been outsourcing your power, every part of your life where you have been living in a toxic fantasy, where there's somebody that's going to rescue you, somebody that's going to really see you for who you are, somebody that's going to validate you if you lose 10 pounds. I think of guys in the gay community and how insane it is of the culture of casual sex and hookups. Listen, I'm not sex negative at all, but what I'm saying is that I look at the guys and I understand the common core wound of so many of these men that were told that they weren't okay, that they weren't good enough, they were shamed for who they are, and they learned a belief that in order to achieve love, to achieve validation and feel good enough about themselves because of their unworthiness wound, because of their shame wound, that they then kick their life into overdrive in having an incredible physique so that they can get sexual validation, that they are incredibly high achieving in their career oftentimes, or on the opposite spectrum, they completely crumble and have no sense of direction or purpose because they are so cut off from who they are, right? That they have 1,000 friends and that they hang out with people that all carry that same validation wound. And it's so interesting to watch as someone who is part of that community, because they are playing out like a collective trauma. And so I'm just using that as one example. But what I'm really getting at here is that we as a society are living out these collective delusions, but it is time that we are now in the mass awakening of what is really going on here. That we are aiming to get back to our childlike self, to our true self. But that again, somewhere along the way, we got traumatized. We got told that we weren't good enough. That then we made our grades in school mean that we weren't smart enough. We made the friendships leaving us early on in life as we weren't good enough to keep people around. We made meaning out of our parents being emotionally distant, that we had to prove ourselves in order to be loved and validated. But all of that programming is falling away, because if you now think about all the times that you recreated that programming in your current circumstances and now how it's all falling apart, the friendships, the relationships, the career, the romance, the family relationships, that is for a reason. So you have to see that this isn't a divine punishment for you. This isn't because you couldn't step up to the plate and keep everything going the way it was, because you weren't meant to keep things going the way that they were. Because that's not your life. That is you living a life based off of an illusion. You see, and so that's the mindfuck, truly, because We didn't come here to live the same life that our parents did. We didn't come here to live the life that our ancestors did. No fucking way. But it is not easy to undo that programming if you've been living it. It's not easy to change the tune of your song when everybody else is humming the same vibration and beating the same drum. So that it's going to take some inner work and some courage and strength to be able to walk a path that is not familiar to you and that is not going to be validated by the people closest to you in your life. Likely not. And if they can validate it, then you are lucky. But the point is that you have to be getting to a place in your own journey where you don't need that validation anymore, where you don't need to be approved, where you don't need to keep a large group of friends, where you don't need to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend in order to feel like you're good enough, because that is a crutch. And so that is a big part of the awakening, is we're pulling back the illusion as to why we make the decisions that we do, as to who we see that we are, right? That truly when we get down to the shadow work of our beliefs, we recognize the ways in which we thought we weren't good enough, that we weren't smart enough, pretty enough, that we weren't successful enough to have someone stay with us, right? That we were always trying to prove something. So the most interesting part is that words like this, TED Talks and books and coaches, if you hear something that resonates with you, you're not learning something new, but you're remembering. So it's this continual process that we're going that is the awakening of remembering who we are, but also of shedding all of the old and allowing it to collapse. So that's why I'm saying that every aspect of your life that you are not free, that you are still living out of illusion and false beliefs, it's going to blow up. I'm so sorry to tell you this, but every part of your life that you're still living out of false belief and illusion and distortion, it's going to blow up. So good luck trying to hold on to that old life. Because if you are working on yourself, if you are on the path of self-discovery, if you are on the ascension journey, if you are getting to a place where you are living out your soul's mission, then those old parts of you can't come with. They are totally incongruent to the identity that you are stepping into, to the consciousness that you are now embodying. So again, enough with the drama. Let it go. Let it go. I remember when I had my first relationship, it was my last year of high school. It was a 1-year relationship. And God, did that relationship trigger the fuck out of me. And I had an incredible partner. But that partner triggered me in my childhood wounding. And I was reenacting the dynamic between my mother and my father. But I didn't realize it. I just felt crazy all the time. I felt crazy because none of that had been dredged up yet. It was dormant inside of me. So that relationship was highlighting and exposing all of my woundedness, all of my core beliefs and my programming that I had inherited from my parents and my ancestors, all that dysfunction, all those narcissistic traits, all that self-abandonment and self-sacrifice and jealousy. So that I remember going to my parents and telling them how crazy I felt, describing what I was experiencing. And I remember my mom saying, that sounds exactly like the dynamic between myself and your father, she said. And I was like, what? Because my parents weren't together once I was past the age of 7. So I don't have very many memories of them telling you that what we're experiencing, like see yourself in my story, it's not conscious. These aren't necessarily conscious memories, but they go deep into the unconscious psyche. They go into our ancestral, our soul blueprint, right? These patterns that are here to be cleared, that we're not meant to be taking part of this anymore. But I could see so clearly then in that moment at the young age of 17 years old, how I was living out my parents' dynamic when I had no conscious memory of it, but I was inflicting my poor high school partner the same pain that my parents did to each other. So realizing that that relationship was helping me unlearn the parts of myself that were false, unlearn my narcissistic traits, unlearn my insecurity and my jealousy, right? That's what it was showing me. So much of life that we're all going through and these difficult experiences we're having where things are crumbling, where we're being challenged, where we're feeling lost, You can see it as actually the opportunity to unlearn a perspective that you are holding on the subject that is causing you discomfort, so that you can see that there is a gap between the way that your soul sees what you're focusing on, and then your ego identity, your human self. And depending on how big that gap is, will tell you the intensity of your negative emotion. So if you are feeling jealousy, rage, fear, despair, anxiety, depression, that's showing you that you have a pretty big gap between the way that you, human self, are seeing the situation that you're placing your attention on and the way that your soul sees it. Because your soul, who sits from the higher perspective, who has eyes on all the different timelines and realities that you currently exist in, because time is all happening right now. There is no past, present, and future. There is no past and future. It's just the present. Whew, it's been a long day. Then you can see that your soul really understands what you're going through from a higher perspective. And the key is coming back to the awareness and alignment from how your soul sees it, that there's not that much drama really going on here, but that you are still playing out traits of your parents, your caregivers, your teachers, your friends on the playground, your ancestors, that you are now here to clear. So that if you're throwing a hissy fit and going apeshit over something that's not working out in your life, over losing a relationship, over having a shift in the direction of your career, your soul doesn't see it in the same way, because your soul is going, woohoo, we're awakening. They're finally getting an opportunity to see what this really is. If you'll see it that way, but so many people get caught up in the drama because we love drama, don't we? So see it as the unlearning and see these opportunities that they are to look at your life from a different perspective and see that it really is about freeing ourselves from the programming of our ancestors, our inherited beliefs that we're not good enough, that we have to earn our validation, that we have to prove ourselves, that we have to explain ourselves, that we're less than, that jobs and careers should be hard work, and that every dollar needs to be earned with your blood, sweat, and tears, that friendships and love relationships need to be earned in order to feel safe. Like, these are just some examples of these really wonky beliefs that are distorted from the essence of who we really are, of our soul self. So it's all an opportunity now to pull back the veil off of how we have been living and to make a course correction. That's the decision now. I get how hard it is. I get it. Okay, we're all living it together. That's the comforting part. But truly, it is about that perspective shift, to try and see it through the eyes of your inner child, of your soul self, to come back to the remembrance. Because we're all coming back to the awakening of who we really are, and we're all returning to our childlike self who already knew, who already loved life, who already knew that they were enough, who didn't need to prove anything to anyone, who knew that they had inherent value in this world, and that they were excited to share their gifts and their vitality and their energy with other people who could reciprocate it in the way that they wanted, you see. And remember that along the way, things got really freaking wonky, that we picked up some really bizarre ways of thinking. We picked up some really distorted ways of expecting outcomes that then became our reality. And then now we are getting into the phase of undoing and questioning and rewriting our reality, to seeing that we have agency in the way that we live, in the way that we see ourselves, in the relationships that we choose, because we don't need to keep repeating kindergarten over and over again, or grade 1 or grade 2. It's time to move on and keep going, but you don't need to keep putting yourself through the same hardships. If you have had relationships that keep repeating a certain theme, there is something to be shown there and seen by you, but it is not yours to keep living. So just remember, I'm going to wrap this video up with my thesis statement that God, the universe, source, however you see it, is showing you every part of your life where you are not free by exposing it, by making it no longer possible to live it, by crumbling it to the ground, burning it to the ground. Experiences that I've had recently where things have just collapsed, I have heard Spirit say to me, Let her rip. Like, fire up the chainsaw. Let's blow this shit up. And that's not an ego thing. That is not an enjoying in the destruction, but it is saying that this is not a way that you can keep living. Stop sugarcoating it. Stop lying to yourself and stop lying to other people with the mask that you're wearing. It's enough. It's enough. That is a message to you, and I'm saying that is just as much of a message to me, that it's enough. No more mask wearing. No more sugarcoating, right? We're moving into this stage of truth, being brutally honest with other people and being honest with ourselves about how we have played into the dynamics of our life that have gotten us here. So that if you're a younger person, you don't have to wait until your midlife crisis to crash out. You don't have to wait until the end of your life to crash out and realize that you never lived your life for you. You lived it on the terms and circumstances of other people in order to be accepted. This is the beauty of it, to tie this all back. We're not waiting until then anymore. Shit's collapsing right now. So that now we see it. Now we take accountability for it. Now we forgive ourselves and we forgive other people in our lives, and we just move forward. Wipe the slate clean, and it's time to be the director of your life. It is time to go forward boldly and beautifully into this next chapter of your life that is written by you and for you. Okay. I love you guys so much. Today is Thursday. If you happen to be watching this video before Saturday, May 9th, I'm going to be hosting a live channeled session over Zoom. It's free. It's Saturday, May 9th at 2 p.m. I will list the details, the link to register in the show notes. I would love to have you there. I channel the divine. It could be any mix of Christ consciousness, angelic beings, ascended masters, Cryon, and these channeled sessions are an incredible opportunity to ask questions, hear other people ask questions about topics that are important to you, about better understanding the nature of your personal reality and how your consciousness creates your experience, about the consciousness of fear, about the human design, about what this reality really is, what the purpose of being a human is. So I'll be hosting that on May 9th, and if you're seeing this after and you're interested, that will not be the last one, but this will be the first one that I'm doing over Zoom, not in person. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And if you've gotten this far, please leave a comment. Just let me know what you thought of the video. Drop a question. Let me know if there's anything you'd like me to talk about in another video. I would love suggestions. And otherwise, I thank you so much for being here. If you've enjoyed this video, enjoyed my other videos, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with a friend, someone you think would enjoy it. And I'll be back within the next 7 days for something else. Okay, much love to you all. Bye.